Well, Feel Well, A Healthier Suffolk in 2023 is a partnership between Suffolk Mind, Public Health and Communities and a range of community groups teaming up to focus on ways for you to be well throughout the year. To help you stay well, Suffolk Mind use an organising idea that we all have physical and emotional needs and a set of skills and resources that we're born with to meet those needs. We have 12 physical and emotional needs. Movement is one of those needs.
So we all know to be healthy, we need physical activities in our lives. It doesn't just benefit our physical self though, it's also good for our mental health. Because as we move, endorphins are released and they're our brain and body's natural pleasure chemicals, and they really help to lift our mood. How much do we need to move is often the question I'm asked. Well, it's probably less than you thought. The average person needs to move about 3 or 4 times a week for about 20 to 30 minutes, and that will release endorphins to an equivalent effect to a medical antidepressant. But actually the effect comes much quicker. Now, if we keep doing the same movement for the same amount of time, we will eventually receive less endorphins. And this is by design. This is nature's way of getting us to stay flexible and to push for more. So to work around this, what we can do is vary what we do. And that's a really good trick to keep us motivated. Vary what you do, where you do it, and who you're doing it with. Now, 2 other things that we can use are going back into the past and drawing on our memories, and also using our imagination for motivation. So thinking back to a time when physical activity has been really beneficial to you, and draw on those memories in the present to motivate you to move today. And then taking your attention out to the future and imagining just how good you're going to feel when you've completed the physical activity can also motivate you to move more. So not only does movement increase our endorphin levels, but it also helps us to maintain and control our stress hormone cortisol within the system. So during periods of adversity or life-threatening events, or maybe even when needs are unmet, maybe we feel secure or out of control, or a key emotional connection is broken down, we'll have a surge of cortisol in our system that will help push us through, be able to overcome that adversity. And that all works perfectly well. The problem comes when actually over periods of time where too much cortisol is in the system, and that can impact both our physical and our mental health. For example, it might be that the stress hormone is triggering inflammation in my system, and that can give rise to high blood pressure, heart problems, or even hypertension. It might be that cortisol is inhibiting my immune system, so I'm more likely to pick up bugs and viruses, and it might be harder for me to recover. They also show that they can be part of things like peptic ulcers, back problems, skin conditions, to name just a few. But by being physically active, we can reduce the levels of cortisol in our system to be both mentally and physically well. And the last thing to talk about is we need to move it or lose it. So if we have brains, we need to move our bodies. If we think about the most primitive brain that we know of is in a sea squirt, aptly named because it travels the bottom of the sea by sucking in water and then squirting it back out the back passage, and it travels across the bottom of the sea. It's moving to meet its needs. Once it reaches the rock, the coral, where it's going to spend the rest of its life, it will attach itself, and it no longer needs to move to meet needs. And it literally eats its brain. It will digest the brain to take the protein. Now, the reason we tell you this disgusting story is hopefully to motivate you to take more physical activity in your life, but also that research shows that if we humans have sedentary lifestyles, that actually we prune back neurology and pathways in our own brains. So it's really important for physical activity, we need to move it or lose it. Sedentary lifestyles show to actually increase our risk of depression and also suicidal thinking. So really, to stay well, what we need to do is move to be able to manage our well-being, to be able to increase those endorphins that help us, those pleasure hormones, and decrease the stress hormones. All of this to help us stay as close as we can towards the well-being end of the mental health continuum.
Here's some useful websites to visit for more support, tips and information.